Hey guys, hold on, how do I invite? Okay, I don't know how this works. Sorry guys, this is my first time doing this. Misty, if you're on here, I sent you a live request. So, it should be there. There we go. What the heck? What is that noise? That was bizarre. What is that? It's coming from your end. It's very, it sounds like broken up, but it sounds on both of our ends. Does it sound weird to you? Hold on. Okay, does it sound weird now? Say something. Oh, it sounds so weird. Hold on, let me try now. What the? What?
Let me.
Okay.
Let me.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I have no idea what that's about. Okay.
Okay, is that
better? Wait, try it again.
Hi.
I think it might be better.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. Okay.
I seriously I don't like my phone. It's weird.
I mean, you're a little low, so I don't want people not to hear you. Try to put it louder. That could just be my end, but I don't want people not to hear you. Okay.
Okay, how's that?
Okay, that's better.
Okay. All right.
Okay. You guys don't even understand how hard this was to put together today. Oh my god. Murphy's Law today.
Yes, for sure. For sure. It's been
oh my god.
Crazy. But I'm glad we were able to make it work.
Yeah. So we're here and we'll make it work. Okay, so for everybody who's new to either one of our channels, I'm Marissa. I run Push Press Paralysis. This is my friend Misty. She runs MistyMBurch, and I'll get into a lot of the stuff that she's working on and let her introduce herself. But we wanted to come on and just kind of riff about different things in our lives, different things as it pertains to disabilities, discrimination, and different things like that today. So we're just gonna kind of let it flow as much as we can, and if anybody has questions, just let us know. So Misty, why don't you tell people about you?
My name is Misty, and I am working really hard and diligently on advocating for the disabled community. I have a mild case of cerebral palsy, and I say mild because there are different severity levels of it. I currently live in Atlanta, and I've been working on a tech startup idea for quite a while now, and that's geared towards accessibility and trying to improve things for the betterment of everyone. And it's a huge endeavor, but it's something that I'm super passionate about. And I'm super passionate about this. I'm super passionate about this mission that I've been working on for quite some time. So the mobile application is called Makeaway App, and you can check out the prototype and the mission on makeawayapp.com.
That's extremely needed. because
Mhm.
still too many places are not accessible for many different reasons too. And the saddest reason, especially with technology today, is the pre-existing buildings clause in the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mhm.
Um, I'm one that I will not hesitate to call out my own community. I won't hesitate to call out, what's wrong with what people are doing. And I just think it's really silly to not have something accessible just because of when it was built. Nobody's saying, I mean, I'm pretty sure me and you can both agree that what we've seen over the last few years as far as what people do to buildings, we're not asking anybody to do that. We don't want
Right.
any buildings burnt or torn down because they're not accessible. There's
No.
plenty of things that can be added to buildings to make them accessible
Right.
without ruining the entire structure of the building.
Well,
You
yeah, and the experience as well, because there's a lot of places that were built. One of the things that I love about Atlanta is it's very historic. There's so many different areas. It's known as the city in the forest, right? So, there's a lot of really cool areas. You can go to College Town area. There's the Mountainous area. There's hiking trails and things like that. And there's so much history here. But with that comes a lot of buildings that were built before the ADA compliant laws. So they're
know,
not obligated nor to update the infrastructure for the ADA the laws. But I think there needs to be some sort of awareness like, hey, just so you know, this building is built and this is what you have to, so you know what you're getting into when you go to. A good example is the DMV. I had to go to
mhm,
the DMV recently, and I was with a friend of mine, and there's literally stairs to
mhm.
go up to the infrastructure. So, like, okay, we can't go there. We have to figure out another way because one, there's no street parking, and then there's stairs on top of it. So, getting my chair out in the middle of traffic and going inside is a whole issue. So, we wasted 20, 30 minutes trying to find the place, and then the after effect of, we need
Don't get distracted by Joe. He's fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm reading these questions. So let's see. Um, yeah, the reason that whatever it cannot be made accessible is depending on when the building was made. They're not
Mhm.
legally required to do that because
But
the building was made before that. So yeah.
but see, that's the key is they're not required.
But they
But
should.
if we because a lot of places don't even know. Like that's the thing is like unless you're physically disabled or know somebody who is, your eyes aren't completely open to it. So
Mhm.
they're allowed. Like just because you're in a building that was prior to 1990 when the clause came into effect, like if you're watching this and you know someplace that was built before that, they can still become compliant.
Right.
Like if on their own accord, if they would like to, they could still become compliant. It
And I
doesn't mean that and I think that's where a lot of places find the loophole to get out of it, but also are just ignorant to the fact that, and I hate that word, so strike it. But they're not aware
right.
that
I
they
can tell
still
you.
can make the difference. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm before 1990. I can't do it, or I don't, I whatever.
Or we don't
But
have the funding or whatever
yeah,
the excuse
well,
may
that's
be.
another thing.
That's another issue. That's a whole nother issue. But the thing
As
is, really
as
quickly, I just wanted to add to that.
Go ahead.
People that aren't aware, I can't tell you how many times I've had people that are, and I don't like this word, but I just have to use it, able bodied, that are my friends and have been around me and say, you know what, I wouldn't have known about this A, B, and C issue had I not hung out with you and said, oh, this is not wheelchair accessible. This is not, about A, B, or C. And I think that's where the conversation needs to be in um, I can't even think of the word, kind of like side by side conversation, transparency, and saying, you know, this is why this is an issue.
I've I've heard that all the time. Where oh,
Mhm.
I didn't know, or hey, I'll get a text. Hey, I thought of you. because such and such place is inaccessible, and I would have never thought of that, had I not known you. Well,
Right.
that's always been one of my ideas, and I think you and I might have actually talked about this once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
Bosses of places, I'm not saying everybody, we're not able-body shaming at all. This is something we're both
For sure.
completely against. But
Right.
if you own a business, a good idea to get more clientele is to make yourself accessible. And it would also benefit people with disabilities because they'd be able to go there and have a life. But also, I feel like to know what you need, the boss or whoever, the builder, should be in a wheelchair for the day to see how he navigates, or she, to see how he or she navigates. And because looking at the naked eye, if you're able-bodied, you're not going to know like the nuances of what we need. So
yeah,
maybe that, I'm not saying everybody, I'm not saying that should be a requirement, nothing really like that. No, but I think it would be a really good idea.
I think it should be a requirement. I think it should be, because there's so much emphasis on inclusivity. I think project managers and construction workers and people that are from the ground up logistically should spend time going about their day. Like, okay, we want to make the sinks in the bathroom such and such height. How is that going to affect someone in a wheelchair?
Exactly.
That's a
sinks are a big one.
Right. Or doors. A lot of buildings and restaurants and things like that, businesses are designed to the aesthetic based on what they want. So the doors could be really heavy, or they could be really light. It just depends on the material that they're
Or they could be manual. I like the electronic.
Right. If and when they work, right? So sometimes they don't necessarily always work, but I think.
And then they'll say push to alert us or something, and I'm like, hello. Right. You're behind a glass door. You can't hear me, but hello.
And then, again, not today, but a few days ago, we had a fire in my building, and I live on the 3rd floor. Well, when there's a fire, the elevator shuts down, and it's like, in case of a fire, don't use the elevator. Well, how the heck?
They need to have special fire drills for people. Like, if you're a building manager, and you know that there's somebody in a wheelchair in your building, or multiple people, whatever, there should be drills where, okay, if this happens, we're designating this person, and if this person if it's an apartment building and the person's not home or whatever, we're going to designate everybody on this floor to check on this person and help them get out.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a requirement too.
Or even something on the door, not necessarily like a red scarlet letter, but something on the door that lets
I hate that. I know it would help in an emergency, but being labeled, oh, hey, this person's disabled, come help them because they're helpless. I hate that.
No, yeah. I just
but I get what you mean.
A conversation, a conversation of like, even with firefighters and paramedics and like people, there needs to be some kind of like, hey, there's so many people in this building that are wheelchair bound or whatever, or semi-ambulatory, or however you want to word it.
Yeah, I used to hate wording, but now I'm just like, whatever, call me whatever.
There needs to be some kind of, it's not necessarily, it doesn't define you. And, I don't like the statement, I think you and I talked about this the other day, what's wrong with you? What happened to you? And it's like,
oh, I can give you a whole list of what's wrong with me, and my disability won't make it.
Right. So, yeah, I just think there needs to be, and there's power in numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of the mission that I've been, working on for so long, and it's because notifying the right people about A, B, and C, and I'm going to just do that because it's shorter, is not effective. Mm-hmm. They have a certain window, a 24 to 48 hour window, and they're like, we have a quota to meet. We're going to close out the case and not do anything about this.
And unless you make a stink, nothing happens. Like, it should just be anybody from the company or anybody going by can see this and, bring it up to the company. No, something bad has to happen. Well, I want to get into one of yours that ended up making the news, and I'll tell one of mine.
Go for it. Yeah, go ahead. And
okay.
I'll be talking nonstop, so you go.
Okay, so I'll be brief. I won't go into the Nassau Coliseum one. I'll go into a more personal one because it illustrates independence, I feel. Mm-hmm. So I was working, we won't get into where because it was pretty political. So I was working, and I would take this bus company, and they would give you the half-hour window where they could be late for a half an hour, and it's fine. Like, it gets excused, whatever. They never had where you would get money back or a refund or anything if they were beyond that window, which they often were. So one day I got out at 4:45 every day, and my window for the company, I think that day it was either 5 to 5:30 or 5:15 to 5:45. That's generally when I would have it, and you would have to call a week before to make it. So God forbid I wanted to do anything just last minute fun, couldn't take them. Not like I would want to now, but so I was waiting and waiting. After the window passed, I called. Still no bus. They were like, "Oh, they'll be there, whatever." 7 something at night, this bus shows up. Then it takes me, because it's a county bus, takes me all the way the opposite direction where I'm going. I'm southern. They took me all the way up north because the person that was up north was coming down to where I am. Instead of sending her another bus, which that's another issue. If they don't have the funding to have multiple buses to go get her just because she was coming to me, I lived less than a half an hour from where I worked. So to go up there and then back, it made no sense. I didn't get home until almost 10 o'clock at night.
See, that would be
So things like that are so ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
And they happen way too often. And while we're talking about discrimination, I want to mention you and I have mobility level disabilities. There was this woman, forgot her first name. I had a crazy day today and I remembered her name. Her last name is Heroics or something, Hero or something. I know you get rid of the X when it's kind of like a French name. She went viral on TikTok. I don't know the correct terminology, but she uses a hearing aid and she has the implant, and she left the implant at home and she was going to Dunkin' Donuts. Now, this is very important for what's going on in our world today. She relies on reading lips. So I want to be careful and not get censored on here, but they had required her to wear something over her face, and they had to wear it too. So she couldn't read their lips.
Oh, no.
And they were adamant that they were not going to take it off. They were not. She eventually did, like we were talking about, make a stink and heard from corporate or whatever. Not to her satisfaction. The person was just going to go basically get off with a slap on the wrist. But that is something that's huge right now. There should be medical exemptions for what's going on, specifically for the deaf community, which neither,
especially if their primary communication is reading lips.
Yeah. I mean, there was people that were shaming her because she didn't have her implant on her. Okay, let's take, because we get shamed for wanting to actually have a life, okay? So let's take the luxury of Dunkin' Donuts out of this, and let's say she was going somewhere for her health, like as an emergency. Like, let's say she fell and forgot her implant but went to the emergency room or something, and they treated her like that. If it's not okay for them to treat her like that, which they probably would in this pandemic, why is it okay for Dunkin' Donuts? Because she had the funds. She seems like she worked, even if she didn't. If she was going to take her hard-earned money, whether that was from her working or whether she was getting a check because of her disability, doesn't matter. If she was going to go and get herself a cup of coffee, there's no reason why they should have treated her that way.
For sure.
And it's not an isolated incident, but it only makes the news when it is, when it's somebody who goes viral. there's plenty of these situations where it should be protocol to not have these situations happen, and it shouldn't only be dealt with when it makes a stink. That was what.
And I agree, and I think I on that topic I can just say I think a
Yeah, I
lot of
want you to tell your story.
in large, I think a lot of people are just reacting out of fear. People are so afraid of everything and all the information that they're being told, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. People are reacting and responding out of fear and forgetting compassion. And that's my statement on that in particular. But in my situation, I live in an area in the city of Atlanta that there's 3 different crosswalks. There's 3 different lights going this way, and then back to my place where I need to go. And in order to cross, you have to push the button. They're not set on timers, and they were completely out of reach for me to get to. So I literally would have to wait until there was absolutely no traffic and just play Frogger with traffic, and or just wait for somebody to come along and push the button for me.
In a big city in Atlanta, you had to take a gas when there was going to be traffic. That's
right. And I complained to the city. No, it's okay. I complained to the city of Atlanta. This started in May. And I complained to the city of Atlanta for probably 6 or 7 months. And I didn't know it was that long. They would I would create tickets. I'd go on 311 or go on the website or on the app or whatever, and I would call them. They would create a ticket. They would close it within 24 to 48 hours because they have an allotment of time and a quota that they have to meet. They would send somebody out, and they would blame the city. They would blame the city would blame Atlantic Station, which is where I live by. Atlantic Station would blame the city. So nobody was taking responsibility. It's not their fault, it's their fault. It's not our fault, it's theirs.
Because they don't want to be shamed. There's shame attached to this stuff, and they don't want to be looked at as the one discriminating.
There shouldn't be shame. It should just be accountability.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm sorry, let's fix it.
Right. And I think nobody wants to pay for the repair of however much it's going to cost. I found out from working with my mobile application that I've been working towards getting it funded, which right now I'm kind of at an impasse, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I complained to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna file a lawsuit. If this does not get fixed, I'm done complaining. What is the point of utilizing Department of Public Works if you're not going to actually do what you need to do? And I kept getting, oh, there's nothing we can do. Yeah, there is.
There's a lot.
So I threatened to sue the city, and then I happened to see a CBS 46 News van going towards where I was going one day, and I stopped and I said, hey, who do I talk to about this? And I explained my story, and then within 2 days I was on the news, and then 3 days after that, 2 to 3 days after that, the lights were fixed. And it took months to complain, and it's like it shouldn't be an issue. But in order,
and now you know who to go to, but there's so many people who don't know who to go to and don't want to make that stink. And it sucks that that's the only way that can make change right now is to make a stink. And I get that's where, like, I get any community that wants to make a stink because that's the only way to get an answer. But that shouldn't be the case. It should be an individual, don't shame that's a whole nother issue, but don't shame a whole community. But it sucks that these things aren't fixed unless somebody screams and yells or
and the thing is, I've been told by someone a while ago, a reliable source, I won't mention their name, that the city of Atlanta had an allotment of $75 million budget to fix sidewalks, and now it's down $5 million. And
that
it's like,
is something I want to bring up with you.
Where that $70 million is at? Whose pockets is it in? And
Thank you.
Right. And so there's a lot to be said about. And I don't know everything politically. I'm not saying that I do, but there is a question to be raised about where is that money going.
When that much money goes missing, anybody should raise a question.
Right. And there's so many different things that could be funded that are being neglected. And it's like, but but why? If you have a certain budget, where is that going? And it's sad and an unfortunate thing. And so that's where, you know, the community involvement gets into play. And like, you know, this project, I'm grateful for all the things that I've had to deal with, and everybody else has had to deal with too, because it's like, now I can figure out how to solve it. There is a way to solve it. It's just a matter of being persistent and taking, you know, accountability, but nobody wants to take accountability. Oh, really quickly, let me just jump on here and just give you another example of, it's not my problem, it's their problem.
Just remind me, as you're telling the story, just remember, in case I forget, I want to talk about the funding, because I have something to add to that. But go ahead.
Sure. But I'll tie that back into that. But so, you know, my friends and I were going somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. We were going somewhere, and it was, you know, typical sidewalk, going up the sidewalk. And then all of a sudden, the property line ended, and it's this big gravel chunk, and then more sidewalk continues. And it's like, that's an example of, that's not my problem.
Sidewalks are horrendous, and it's the homeowner that's responsible. That's what sucks.
Yeah, that's a whole other, there was a law that passed in Atlanta about that. Like, if you own property, you're responsible for that, but
they don't care a lot of the time. It's not important to them.
Yeah,
which sucks.
And it's not necessarily that they don't care. It's just, it's not a problem that phases them. So
yeah, or affects them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I'm certain that if somebody, and I don't wish this on anyone, but I'm certain that if somebody was suddenly disabled in their family, be like, oh my gosh, we have to make this accommodating for so and so, because it's close to them and it's close to their home, you know. But yeah.
So funding, I don't remember. It was definitely within the last 5 years. It probably changed, whether it went up or down. At this point, I'm not sure. Probably down, knowing them. But $200 billion was supposed to be allocated annually for people with disabilities. Now, whether that encompassed everything, which I'm sure it did, because that's a big chunk.
That's a lot of money.
So whether that went straight to the pocket or straight to the services, either way, a lot of people don't have a lot to show for it.
Right.
Things are still, and then not only that, the things that don't even just affect people with disabilities that can help people with disabilities, the infrastructure. Like, there's a lot of things that I relate to that a mother or a father wheeling their kid in a stroller.
Yeah.
Or older people that aren't necessarily disabled, they're just elderly, and they use assistance.
Right.
Like, to get around. And
or whatever. Yeah.
So this affects more people than are considered disabled, which is over 50 million Americans alone. But
there's 100,
you know, adding that special, you know, the different things people need, I'm sure a lot more people can be considered disabled that would need these things that are just not done.
Right.
And
there's according to the U.S. Census, when I was doing my project, there's 54 million people in the United States that are disabled, that are considered disabled, and 190 million worldwide.
Yeah, last I heard it was between 54 and 56 million.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's too many people to not address stuff like this. It's just, and then on the personal levels for us, and I'm sure a lot of other people with disabilities, but on the personal level as a person, you don't want to feel like you're asking for something. You feel like you're asking for something special, and you're not.
Right.
Like, you're just asking for the bare minimum of what should already occur, and then knowing that's the kicker, is like, I could see if we were doing that bad or whatever, the money's there, it's just being allocated wrong.
Yeah, totally. And you know, and then people, then, you know, there's lawsuits that take into place, and they end up losing the law, you know, they end up having to pay whoever this money because they lost out. You know, there's so many sidewalks that are not accessible. There's you know, and it's $1,000 to do like the basic ramp, right? And then 200, it goes up to 250,000 depending on if you have to unplug wiring and do all this other, the equipment and what have you. That's in the city of Atlanta alone. And that's based on who the city council and the Department of Public Works, that's the information they provided me. So, and depending on whether or not they have the funding, which we know they do, it's just it's allocated wrong. They then have to apply for grants, and that could take anywhere from 30 to 90 days or up to a year. That's when things get,
they could
difficult.
expedite that. They just
could. They just don't think
they don't want to.
Yeah. And they told me that they fix problems whenever they think whatever problem first that they deem is more important. They told me that. So I'm like, well, at least you're honest.
Well, those people like that are the first ones that should be put in the wheelchairs, because their opinion of what should be changed would change if they actually had the experience.
I really think it should be more than a day. I think it should be a whole experience. Okay, I'm going to the grocery store.
Yeah,
okay,
like have a week of like make it a point to go everywhere that you would normally go in your life.
Yeah.
And see which places. Yeah.
And I really think that they should really take that into consideration, because, like we said before, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they don't experience.
I think everybody who watches this video, if you live in a place that's not accessible, or you run into a lot of things in your community that is not accessible, or your state or your city, whatever it is, contact your state officials and pose this idea to them.
Yeah.
Like, can we start a thing where, and don't say it snarky either, like say it because you really want them to do it, like,
yeah.
And then that's the thing, is we end up getting so frustrated that we end up snarky and people don't listen. So what we do is just say, listen, I would really appreciate it, and I think a lot of people would, and especially the businesses too, because they'd get more clientele then if they were open to more people. I think it would be a really good idea if we just went around and you guys went in wheelchairs, and so you could see exactly what we need and why we need it. And we're not just saying that we need X, Y, and Z as a luxury. No, this is like actually what we need.
And I mean, I'm not to sound like a victim either, because we're not victims, but
it's sad that we think that way.
Right. There are times when it's hard. It's just really, really hard. And I feel like going someplace, and here's a good example. I wanted gumbo one day, and I looked up online the best place in gumbo in Atlanta, and you guys can Google that too, but I'm not going to give the name because I don't want to defame anyone. I go to the restaurant and get there, and there's stairs. The person comes out, the hostess comes out and says, we have a ramp, but you have to go through the kitchen. So I had to go through the kitchen to get inside the actual restaurant, because they didn't have a ramp other than inside the kitchen. So those are things that I think people just need, a little bit more.
I can relate to that in one of my schools. I won't say which level or which one. My exit was the cafeteria. Where's the fire start during a fire drill? If it was real, where would it start?
The kitchen.
I mean, it could be electrical somewhere else, but not very smart.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, and two, don't even get me started on the education system. My friend, a friend of mine, she may not want me to mention her name, so I won't, told me that she was going to college, and in order to get to the top of the class where she needed to go, there were stairs, and the elevator happened to be broken. She called her teacher to let her know, and the teacher was like, that's not my problem.
I fell out of a freight elevator in school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because they were slow walking a real elevator on the other side of the building, so I had to use the freight. And apparently somebody put their key in on another level, and I didn't realize it because it was between classes. You just, when you're so used to being in the chair, you get in the elevator, you get out. So, and then when you have like that little window, we're allowed to be late in school. I'm sure you were too, but you know, you don't like to. I never liked to be late when I was in school. I'm in my 30s now, so it's been a while, but so I would just not even think. And you trust things like that too. So like you're not thinking, "Oh my god, I'm going to fall out of this elevator." No. Well, apparently somebody put their key in on another level and it didn't stop all the way at the bottom. So I had a good foot. Thank God I have good reflexes cuz I went forward. And I
Oh
would
my
have smashed my face open if my arms didn't hold.
oh my goodness. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I just think there needs to be a conversation about all of these things. And people need to dialogue about it a lot more, even when
Mm-hmm.
they think it affects them. And I think people, kindly going to your representatives and saying, hey, how do you feel about doing this experiment? I know somebody in some city or state did this a long time ago. It made a news story how he had representatives. I don't know exactly where. I'll link it. I'll find it and link
Yeah,
it.
let me know because I want to hear that.
And he had people wheel around in wheelchairs for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it needs to be a considerable amount of time, maybe 3 days, so people can kind of see, oh, bathroom sinks are too high. The paper towel dispenser is extremely high.
That's what I
Filters are
wanted to
extremely
touch
high.
on.
Yeah.
The bathrooms. Everything that they consider disabled, which is exactly why this idea that we have is really good to put people in wheelchairs that aren't normally in wheelchairs, that
Mm-hmm.
are in charge of building these things. Because the bathrooms I find is the most loosely done area, I'll say. Like, I'll go into a bathroom that's supposedly equipped, but it's small and different things about it. Like a lot of the time, if it's that small, but it's the one stall is bigger than the others, so they mean to make it wheelchair accessible. I'll have to leave my chair outside the stall because it's not big enough.
Mm,
And then there's other times where because I have to do that, the bathroom itself is so small, I have to have the door open because my chair won't fit in the bigger area, and I'll have to have
yeah.
somebody watching to make sure nobody comes through.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
get it, like room wise, like the allotted amount of room, you can't always fix that in a building, but if you're gonna have like one toilet, make it accessible so that way we
Yeah.
don't have this issue. Like I would rather one stall that anybody can use that is accessible instead of a half-assed wheelchair accessible one amongst other regular ones.
Right.
I would rather just let anybody use it, but make it accessible so that I could use it too. I don't care,
Yeah.
like
Totally.
I.
Totally. It used to bother me, and I'm just going to be vulnerable and say this. It used to bother me when people that were, again, I'm going to use the word able-bodied, that would just go into a handicap stall. But it's taken me some time to understand that maybe somebody just is claustrophobic, or maybe they need that extra room, or maybe they're, have a really hard time with whatever. And so it used to bother me a great deal. So I think a good idea is what you're on something there. It's design a bathroom that everyone can use,
Yeah.
or but again, there's square footage. But again, people have to sacrifice somewhere, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
in order to accommodate. So,
And that's the thing is they don't look at us like a viable customer. I don't think, because if they realize how many people were disabled and how many people won't go somewhere unless they already know that it's accessible.
mm-hmm.
Like if a place all of a sudden turned on a dime and became accessible, they would get more people.
Right.
There's millions of us all over the place. And speaking of bathrooms and not caring if somebody able-bodied uses a stall,
Mm-hmm.
I went to see Tony Robbins a few years ago now. I think it was a couple of years now. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. COVID has me all messed up time-wise, but it's been quite a few, like maybe 3 years, 2 years. I don't know. And so we were going to the bathroom, and it was packed, obviously, because it was a Tony Robbins event. And so it was me and my friends, and another girl in a wheelchair was there. And me and her and my friends are all waiting, and this able-bodied person comes out of the one wheelchair accessible stall, which was fine until she looked at both of us and was like, she looks at her, she looks at me, and she says to me she had to wait too, because I guess I had like an annoyed look on my face because I had to pee. She's like, she had to wait too. I wouldn't have had a problem if she didn't say that. I'm like,
Yeah.
and she's lucky that it was an event like that, and I was in a good mood before I met her, because I would have started. And I try not to start because I'm just aware that people say stupid things now, so it's just like whatever. But I'm like,
yeah,
this girl, we literally physically can't wait a long time to go to bed.
right, yeah.
Like, you're in there taking your sweet time, and then you make a smart ass comment. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay. So Christopher Sloan Fraser. I have spina bifida. I'm paralyzed from the knee down, and Misty has cerebral palsy, like a mild case of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we both use wheelchairs, so I don't walk at all. So, and that's by choice, because my hip is out and I'm not going for another surgery. It hasn't bothered me in years, so I don't care. I just don't want to aggravate it, and I know that the shifting that comes with spina bifida walking would destroy it. So I just choose not to. And I have really bad, tiring memories of walking with a clunky walker and clunky braces, so I choose not to.
Yeah. So.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we'll open the discussion for questions.
And if not, is there any other stories or other things that you wanted to mention?
Well, I've been, as I mentioned, I've been working on this mobile application. I'm currently talking with some pretty big corporations, but in order to move forward with them, I need a provisional patent, and that's a little over $1,000. So I'm.
Do you have like any type of fund thing set up where people could go to support you?
I have a Venmo, and I thought about doing a GoFundMe kind of situation, but I feel like in these times right now, I think other people have other things that are more pressing than my idea. So if they wanted to support me in that, I could.
Just ignore Jo. Just ignore her. She's being funny. She's being funny.
Okay. I was a little bit thrown off by that. Anyway, so if you wanted to support me in my endeavor and you want, I can DM my Venmo. I'm not comfortable with just putting it out there publicly.
Yeah. I have my PayPal on my Linktree, but I also do have 3 books out. You can search Marissa Molesky on Amazon, and you can find my books. You know, it's not just something that I did for me and for, an income. I really want to help people. I'm writing another one. I'm pretty much done with a course, but I'm shopping around for course platforms. It's okay, Jo. I was just busting your balls. So I'm in the middle of shopping around for platforms to put it on. I had let my trial run on the other one, and just people mentioned a few others, so I'm just deciding on that. But I have my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Marissa11586. I would love for anybody watching to go subscribe and support that. That gets monetized too, but I'm not at the threshold yet. I've been really trying to promote that though, because I really enjoy doing that, and I really want to keep going, and I think it's a really good way to raise awareness in this day and age is through video.
Yeah.
So
just having a conversation. And I've really enjoyed doing this live. So if anybody has any ideas or topics or things that you guys want us to maybe come back and do another live, that would be fun to do too.
Yeah, and definitely follow us both. If you're new to me, follow me, and if you're new to Misty, follow her.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't have to save this before we did it, because I don't know how. I forgot how to do that.
Oh shoot. Well, maybe it'll save for a time. Let's see.
Hopefully.
Let me check something really quick.
It would have to be on my end because I did it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I think it happens when you close it. I don't know. But if this doesn't save, we'll do another one sooner than we plan to.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation.
So Joe is asking what you do.
Okay, Joe. I am super passionate about my tech startup, which is called Makeaway App. You can check it out on makeawayapp.com. I've been very passionate about resolving sidewalk and ADA compliance issues in cities. Right now, I'm working with hoping to start in Atlanta. I don't want to give misinformation. I haven't started anything yet. It's just in prototype phase. And yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Can I explain about my spina bifida? Okay, well, what would you like to know? I'm paralyzed from the knee down. I'm trying to decide if this person is a troll or not. To be honest.
Which one?
All I'm seeing is Christopher. Oh, Joe? Joe's just being funny.
Okay.
She is a troll, but she's a good troll because we're kind of friends.
I don't necessarily understand your question about when you close it. What does that mean?
The person saying about closing it, Joe, she's just telling me that when I close this live,
okay,
I can save it then.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you for that information. Okay.
Yeah, so I hope that answered your question, Christopher, about my spina bifida. I don't typically explain things like that unless people ask, because my disability, I didn't even know up until like a few years ago what level I was at, and I don't even know it offhand. I think it's like L3, L4, something like that, of the level of the spine that's disabled. Oh, you're funny, Joe.
So, really quickly, I want to shift the conversation a little bit.
Okay.
Push past paralysis. We've discussed this before, but for the sake of those that are joining, I really like that. And you had asked me a long time ago what it meant to me. And I think it means pushing yourself back in, like beyond, not back in, but beyond the norm of what you think you can do. Like paralysis can be in many levels. It can be anxiety, it can be depression, it can be physical, it could be mental, it could be anything really. It can be metaphorically. So I think it speaks, anyone could come on your channel or on your Facebook page on Push Past Paralysis and really benefit, regardless if they're able-bodied or not. Or, if they're struggling with mental illness, depression is a huge factor for me right now.
I think mentality stops you more than anything physical. Especially in this day and age with technology. Like, I could be a good friend of mine. His name is Josh. He goes by AKA Real Dirty on Twitter, and I won't dox him and say his last name on Facebook because I haven't talked to him about shouting him out right now. He's a quadriplegic. He lives in a nursing home, but he spends every day cutting up news videos and, making cool videos and stuff just by using Surrey.
That's really cool.
It really is, whether you're disabled or not, it's your mentality. You can be completely paralyzed and do more with your life than somebody who doesn't have paralysis physically at all. or the opposite could be true. And, it is your choice. And I know that that's controversial to say. A lot of people don't like that, but it is. It's all in your perception and your perspective.
It is for sure. There's, if you tell yourself you can't do something, you're
And
right.
you can.
If you tell yourself you can, you're also right.
Yeah.
It's all about what you're telling yourself. And, if you're afraid to try something new, or you're afraid to step out of the realm of like what you think you can't do, push past the boundary of that and try. If you're not able to do something, then, whether it be a career or whatever, try something else and pick some, find something that you're passionate about. Just start something. And that's the definition of pushing past paralysis, in my opinion. Bless you.
It's coming. Oh. Thank you.
So.
No, I really like that. And actually, I guess you could say part of me has been a little reluctant posting the course, because the Medium site that I was using to create the course, that cost money after the free trial. And since I didn't have it up before the free trial, I wasn't making money on it. And part of me is afraid that I'm either just going to be breaking even or not making any money and losing money and just continuing to just pay for the platform and, not make money. But I know that people really need this course. And for anybody who, is on here, whether you're disabled or not, but specifically for people with disabilities, it's an exercise course. It's very minimal but effective exercises for people with disabilities, whether you're doing it from your bed or the floor or your wheelchair. There's something in there for everybody. So I know that, people could use this. And I do believe in the product. I do believe in what I did. It's just a matter of, money blocks going, okay, well, if it doesn't sell, what are you going to do? You're going to keep. So I have to, get out of that and just put it on.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to tell you, you don't know until you try, right? So I would say maybe do like a 15-minute excerpt of what it is and put it on your YouTube, and then tell people, if you want more information, subscribe. And based on how many people subscribe to that video or subscribe to your landing page or what have you, then you'll know I have this many people interested. And then you can kind of say, what can I price this at to then break even and or go a little bit above that, and just to kind of pique people's interest, because you don't know unless you put it out there.
Yeah, I should make a short. I mean, that's where I get most of my clicks, is my exercise videos. So that, like I said, I know people could use it. And it's a matter of the platform that I was on for the free trial, that only lets you charge, like they have a cap on the low end.
Okay.
So it's a matter of people being able, and a lot of my audience is people with disabilities who, whether or not they're on the system or not, they have extra expenses.
Right.
But this could potentially get rid of therapy that they need, or get rid of, a gym membership that they need. It could offset a lot for their life. And I really, I think that it would be really good for people.
I have some points about it, but we'll talk about that
when
we're not on live. I have some ideas for you.
Okay.
But, yeah. But yeah, this is really cool, and I want to check out what you have too.
I definitely will talk about it. And hey, I might even have it up tonight after this conversation, so we'll see. See. I do what?
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I do want to make another YouTube video after this. I want to touch on and expand on my opinions on the lady at Dunkin' Donuts. So that's going to be my next video. But yeah, I do want to get the course up because that's something that I'm passionate about. I exercise, do yoga all the time, and I think it's very important for people who are in wheelchairs to do that as much as they can to the best of their ability that they can, because you're not, just because you have a different ability doesn't mean that you should punish yourself and make your own health deteriorate based on that diagnosis. Like, there's things that you can do to either maintain the health that you're currently at or even improve it beyond what a doctor will tell you.
And, since you brought that up earlier today, I had an interview with a lady interviewed me regarding it was a job agency. And the lady that interviewed me was, she had no use, I don't know the term, it could be, you could help me with this, but she didn't have use of her arms or legs, but she had...
That's quadriplegic.
Okay, quadriplegic, that's what I thought. But she was able to interview me using she had a microphone, and she could tell her computer what she needed, like access to the camera on Zoom or her microphone or A, B, or C, she could tell it. And so she was even able to be employed. And there's technology has come so far with all of those technological advances to be able to help people be able to do those things. So people are, if I just think there's more things out there than people are aware of for employment and things like that. And I want to be very careful with how I word things because I don't want to offend anyone. Yeah. But if you're able to do, if you want to do the things that you have goals and dreams, there's a way to go about doing it. And there's resources out there too. Vocational rehabilitation. There's websites called Inclusively. Inclusively.com is something that I recently discovered. And we could talk about this, but there are resources out there to help people that want to be as independently as possible. And that goes right alongside with fitness and health and things like that too. So yeah. We can elaborate more on that.
I think if they start with the basics, then they'll want to do more and more. Yes. And expand into all of those areas. Yes, Joe, to your first question, and I don't know if that's like Stephen Hawking, but yes, I'm still friends with her.
Well,
all right, so I know you have another call that you're waiting on.
Yes.
I don't even know how long we've been on here. I don't know.
We've been on here for, I would say, about 45 minutes.
Okay, so
close to an hour.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go, get to your other things, and definitely message me about your ideas that you had.
For sure.
For the course. I have a couple of things I'm going to take care of, and then I'm going to do the video, and then I want to see, what I can do about getting this course up soon. All right. So,
thank you.
Like I said, guys, follow Misty, follow me if you're over here from her, and I'm going to try to save this now when I close it, and if it doesn't save, don't panic. We'll do it again. But I think I know. I just don't have. I just won't go quick when because I think it comes up after. Do you want to save this? So, anyways, so we'll let you guys go. Thank you guys for watching and participating and asking questions and leaving us comments, and let us know if you guys want us to do this again. All right.
Yeah. Thanks, bye, guys. Bye.